A common claim is that Deuteronomy 28 predicts the transatlantic slave trade, but that claim only works if you isolate one verse and ignore the rest of the chapter and the historical record. Most arguments focus on the word ships in Deuteronomy 28:68 and immediately assume it refers to Africans taken to the Americas, without checking whether the rest of the verse actually matches. The verse clearly says they would be taken by ships back to Egypt, and throughout the Torah, Egypt always refers to the literal land of Egypt, not a symbolic concept. If Egypt means a real place everywhere else in the text, changing its meaning in this one verse creates an inconsistent interpretation that the text itself does not support. After the Roman destruction of Jerusalem in 70 AD, Josephus records that large numbers of Jews were captured and deported, which begins to align with the conditions described in Deuteronomy. Historical records describe captives being herded onto ships and transported to Egypt, with many dying during the journey, which directly matches the wording of Deuteronomy 28:68. These accounts explain that Jewish captives were first taken to regional markets and then moved toward Egypt, often by ship, confirming the geographic and logistical details in the text. Locations like Schedia in Lower Egypt served as major distribution points along the Nile, showing how captives transported by ship would enter Egypt through known trade routes. The same verse says, they would be offered for sale as slaves, but no one would buy them, which is a critical detail that cannot be ignored. The transatlantic slave trade was an economic system built on demand, meaning enslaved people were consistently bought and sold as part of a functioning market. If no one is buying, then the system described in Deuteronomy cannot be the Atlantic slave trade, because that system depends entirely on successful transactions. Josephus explains that after the war, so many Jewish captives were taken that markets were overwhelmed, and many slaves could not be sold at all. The chapter also describes extreme siege conditions, where people would eat their own children due to starvation. Josephus records a specific case where a woman killed and ate her own child during the siege of Jerusalem, directly fulfilling this part of the prophecy. There is no recorded parallel of this occurring during the transatlantic slave trade among West African populations. West Africans were captured through regional conflicts and then sold into an established trade system where European buyers were actively purchasing enslaved people. This was a continuous commercial system with pricing, negotiation, and demand, which is completely different from a situation where no one is buying. Because of this, the Atlantic slave trade does not match the condition described in Deuteronomy, where captives remain unsold. Many of the curses in Deuteronomy 28 were already being fulfilled during earlier exiles, showing that the chapter describes recurring historical judgments. The Roman destruction of Judea provides the most complete historical alignment with the chapter, including siege, captivity, and dispersion. There is nothing in the text that suggests these events were meant to be delayed thousands of years into the future. When the entire chapter is read in context, the interpretation becomes clear without needing to isolate one phrase or redefine key terms. The biblical text aligns with documented historical events in the ancient world, not with the Atlantic slave trade. When all the conditions are compared carefully, the claim that Deuteronomy 28 describes the transatlantic slave trade does not hold up.